How does a 1,300-ton rock, heavier than a Boeing 747, end up perched high on a cliff in the middle of the Pacific? No crane put it there. No ancient legend explained it. And yet, it's real. Welcome to one of Earth's greatest geological puzzles, the tsunami rock of Tonga. Hit subscribe, smash the like button, and join the Infinity Team as we uncover a disaster so massive, it rewrote the landscape, and then vanished from human memory. On the southern coast of Tongatapu, the main island of Tonga, lies something so out of place it stops geologists in their tracks. Towering nearly 50 feet high and weighing an estimated 1,300 tons, a lone boulder rests dramatically atop a cliff. The locals call it Maka Lahi, the Big Rock. But this isn't just any rock. It's a coral reef boulder, a type of limestone that forms underwater. Which begs the first question: how does underwater coral end up hundreds of meters inland and high above sea level? For decades, scientists, explorers, and skeptics offered theories. Was it placed there by humans? Did it fall from a nearby ridge? Could it be part of a collapsed sea stack? None of those made sense. Maka Lahi is geologically foreign to the cliff it rests on. Its composition doesn't match the nearby bedrock. And there's zero evidence of carving, dragging, or stacking. What's more, the sheer weight of the boulder makes any theory of human transport laughably impossible. To move something that heavy would require machinery far beyond what even modern construction sites use. Satellite imagery and drone scans confirm one thing: Maka Lahi didn't roll, fall, or tumble into place. It was hurled. But hurled by what? This is where science meets awe. The answer came not from Tonga itself, but from the patterns in the Pacific Ocean, and from a trail of similar, though smaller, rocks scattered across the island's southern coast. These rocks weren't arranged randomly. They followed a blast line. And that blast came from the sea. Maka Lahi wasn't a boulder placed by hand or accident. It was the fingerprint of a forgotten catastrophe, one violent enough to rewrite geography. In the early 2000s, geologists from New Zealand, Australia, and the US began a quiet but focused investigation of Tonga's southern coast. Their curiosity was piqued by the sheer volume and pattern of displaced reef boulders. Using 3D modeling, LiDAR scans, and carbon dating, they began piecing together a scenario. These boulders were likely ripped from underwater coral reefs, lifted into the air, and launched inland. The estimated force? Between 8 to 10 megatons of TNT, roughly the same energy as a mid-sized nuclear bomb. So what could unleash that kind of power without leaving a visible crater or lasting scar? The answer lay beneath the waves: a mega-tsunami. Tsunamis are often misunderstood. They're not just big waves, they're walls of water, sometimes over 100 feet tall, moving at the speed of a jetliner. And when one hits a coastline with shallow reefs, it can tear them apart like tissue paper. Computer simulations began to show how a tsunami, perhaps over 40 meters in height, could have struck Tongatapu's southern coast, generating enough kinetic energy to lift and launch Maka Lahi. But for this to make sense, there had to be a source, an origin point big enough to generate such a wave. And that source couldn't have been a simple earthquake. Researchers dug deeper, literally, into seafloor scans, volcanic records, and sediment cores from the region. And then they found it: evidence of a collapsed volcanic caldera nearby, dated roughly 800 to 1,000 years ago. This event, now believed to be the Hunga Ha-Pai mega-eruption's older geological cousin, may have unleashed one of the largest tsunamis in Pacific history. Picture this: sometime around the year 1000 AD, a submarine volcano in the Tongan archipelago ruptured violently. The explosion didn't just send ash into the sky, it displaced entire sections of seafloor. The ocean, in turn, retaliated. A massive surge formed, gaining speed and mass as it traveled northwest, straight toward Tongatapu. In a matter of minutes, this wall of water likely slammed into the island with biblical force, tearing up coral reefs, swallowing villages, and permanently altering coastlines. The boulders we see today are not just geological curiosities, they're survivors of an ancient assault. Maka Lahi is the largest, but dozens of others, ranging from 50 to 300 tons, still dot the coastline in eerie silence. Oral histories from nearby Polynesian cultures hint at massive oceanic events, though timelines are blurry. Some stories speak of a day when the sea stood up like a mountain and swallowed the land. For centuries, these stories were considered myths. But now, The evidence suggests they were fragmented memories of a very real catastrophe. Even sediment layers inland show marine microfossils in areas that should have been dry, indicating that saltwater flooded miles inland. This was no ordinary tsunami. It was an apocalyptic one, a rogue titan in the sea. The terrifying part? It happened without warning, and with such intensity that the landscape still bears its scars a millennium later. And yet, almost no one outside the scientific community knows this story. Until now. To understand how a wave could lift a 1,300-ton boulder, we need to go deep into tsunami physics. When a wave hits a reef flat, the water's energy compresses, then surges vertically and horizontally at once. It acts like a battering ram, but fluid and chaotic. For coral boulders to be ripped, lofted, and carried, the wave must strike with enough energy to overcome gravity, inertia, and friction. That means tens of millions of newtons of force. In lab simulations and field tests, scientists recreated scaled versions of wave-boulder interactions. The results were clear: reef boulders can be lifted and launched under tsunami conditions, if the wave is powerful enough and fast enough. Maka Lahi sits over 100 meters from the modern shoreline and about 15 meters above sea level. That means the wave wasn't just tall, it had momentum that defied expectations. The orientation of the boulder, angled toward the sea, also supports this. It's as if the rock was thrown like a skipping stone and then slammed into place. Even erosion patterns on its base suggest it didn't grow there over time, but landed violently and was locked into the earth like a missile. So yes, the physics checks out. And more importantly, no other natural process explains Maka Lahi's position as well as a tsunami impact. What makes this all the more eerie? It's happened before, and it could happen again. Tonga is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of the most tectonically active zones on Earth. Which means Maka Lahi may not be the last warning. Maka Lahi isn't just a boulder, it's a monument to a forgotten apocalypse. While history books stayed silent, this 1,300-ton slab of coral kept the memory alive, immovable and unignorable. Scientists now see it as a key to unlocking tsunami patterns that could save lives in the future. Most tsunami traces vanish within years. But Maka Lahi stayed. It endured. The physics checks out, the models match, and the geological data is sound. But what makes it so compelling is that it shouldn't be there, and yet it is. The Earth left a message in stone. For the people of Tonga, Maka Lahi has taken on cultural weight. It's a sacred scar, proof that the sea once roared louder than ever, and may do so again. The Pacific Ocean is far from calm. Tonga lies on the Ring of Fire, surrounded by underwater volcanoes and seismic fault lines. The forces that launched Maka Lahi? They're still here. Still ticking. And as sea levels rise and coastal populations grow, future tsunamis could be even more devastating. Maka Lahi isn't just a relic, it's a warning we'd be foolish to ignore. Around the world, similar rocks are being studied, from Hawaii to Japan. But few are as massive or as clear in their story as Maka Lahi. It's a geological black box from a disaster we barely remember. The real tragedy? We nearly forgot it happened. Maka Lahi stood for centuries, unstudied, unexplained. That kind of forgetting is dangerous. Because what we forget, we never prepare for. Nature doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. If Maka Lahi teaches us anything, it's that we need to pay attention to what the planet is still whispering, or risk being shouted at again. If this story moved you, or made you look at the ground beneath your feet a little differently, then hit like, subscribe, and join the Infinity Team. Because the Earth still has stories to tell, and we're here to listen.